This is WWE 2K22. We're here on Xbox Series X diving into this return of the franchise. They took some time off and they are back, and perhaps better than ever, who's to say. So be sure to like the video, subscribing's great as well. So what are we getting here on Xbox Series X? We're getting a 4K resolution, 60 FPS, no HDR support. You can play locally with up to 4 players. You can play online with up to 8 players. And you can have up to 8 players battling within the ring during local matches, you know, with AI and whatnot. So this is a Royal Rumble. I thought this would be a fun setup to show a little bit of just what this game can do. So there are a lot of elements to this experience, and let's just start with the basics. First off, there is a Play Now mode. So this is where you can do 1-on-1, 2-on-2, you can do tag team, you can do TCL, you know, you can throw in ladders, you can throw in all kinds of things. You can do customization, you can do these Royal Rumbles, 10, 20, 30 players. You can do whatever you want, quick play, quick options, set up different fighters, do female battles, male battles, throw in these custom characters, throw in downloaded characters, all kinds of options. And don't worry, we will dive deeply into the customization that's present here in just a bit. So the next mode that is present within the game is the My Rise. So this is a feature that is more of a scripted story type thing. You create your own superstar in that mode, and then you kind of go through these scripted events. Visually, it could be a little bit better. It seems like it's a pretty quick, easygoing mode, but you know, it is something that is a bit more story focused, and I think that's kind of cool that you get the story elements that you can work through as you make your way from, you know, basically a nobody in your particular field that you choose, and then you kind of keep going up the ranks and whatnot to become a star of the wrestling world. So that's kind of neat. There's also the My GM mode. So this My GM mode is one where you kind of pick a GM character, you dive in and you start building a roster. You kind of pick, you want to be with the, you know, Raw, you want to be with the Smackdown, you know, you choose. And then you kind of compile a team, and then you do different events that you have to set up, and you can simulate the events or take part in the events and stuff. And you know, it's kind of a neat mode in that regard. You might find it to be kind of interesting. So that's another option that's present. I would have liked it to be a little bit more in depth, to be honest. It, you know, you get to make choices and stuff, but it would have been cool to have the GM be a little bit more kind of engaging that mode. So there's also the showcase events. So these are things with like historical type dates to them. You unlock certain things by doing it. There's different challenges in there. That aspect is kind of interesting. You might find those kind of little options, just like extra things for you to do. There's also the Universe mode, where you get to kind of manage things and do different setups. Like a lot of these modes are very similar, but you know, they play around with things. They give you different options and choices, and that's why I think this game is actually quite well-rounded from a perspective of, hey, there's a lot of different modes and content for you to enjoy in this one. So with the Universe mode, you can do Classic or Superstar, and you kind of, you know, jump in, do different scenarios, set up different rivalries. It's kind of a cool choice. Finally, there's the My Faction. So My Faction is a card-based system. If you are familiar with, you know, Ultimate Team or something like that from other sporting games, you pick your team based on cards, you compete. You know, there's different rarities of cards, there's microtransactions for the cards, all that kind of stuff. So that mode might be hit or miss depending on your interests. I never really get into the card games, but I know a lot of people like the card system, so that is something you might find to be somewhat intriguing. Now, one of the strengths of this game is its creative side of things, as you've clearly been seeing here within the combat that's going on in this Royal Rumble, which is kind of nuts, needless to say, obviously. But yeah, the creative elements are really cool. There is this really, really in-depth character customizer where you can make whatever kind of crazy character thing you want. There's hundreds of different outfits and designs. You choose male, female character, and then you go from there, and you'd be like, you know, I want to have like a crazy gown. You can change your entry outfit. You can change your kind of in the mat outfit. You can change your hairstyles, you can do whimsical things, you can change like the material out that you have for your outfits, you know, shiny metal, crazy rainbow, all kinds of stuff. You go nuts. And I mean, you're seeing that right here with these characters. So these are ones I've downloaded. I made my own character, which you might see in this depending on how long it takes for me to get into the ring. Hard to say. So You can make your character, you can upload it to others, so others can download it online, you can download what others have made. In that aspect, I did notice a couple crashes when kind of going through the hundreds of pages of character creations. That did crash twice, so keep that in mind performance-wise. So that's an interesting element. But yeah, other than that, the game all ran kind of fine. I should mention briefly that performance-wise, I have noticed when you get 8 characters into the ring, you might occasionally get a frame rate dip here or there, like a little bit of a pause, but it's not too bad. It all seems to run quite smooth, this game. But yeah, like I was saying, the creative elements are just nuts. I mean, this is where the game shines. You just download these characters and go wild. It's a lot of fun. They're also going to be adding the option for doing like photo import, if that makes sense. There's going to be like a photo system you can kind of do using your phone and using an online site and kind of upload an image, so you can kind of put yourself into the game if you'd like to as well, which is kind of cool. I think that's very well done and generally quite intuitive, just in terms of this. And it's not just characters. Like, you can customize arenas. You can change you can make like a arena with green fog or red fog, or change the fog level, or change the lighting in all different areas, change how the crowd's set up, change the chairs. You could put giant inflatable arm men on the stage. You can customize the stage. You can change the stage. You can make the place set wherever you want. They get just like a huge range of different options when it comes to setting up whatever arena you want. And it's the same scenario where you can upload it, you can download other arenas, and you can do this with other things too, such as like championship type options. There's just a wide range of different customizable things, and I think that is the strength and the heart of this experience, is just making these insane setups and scenarios. For me, I found this very, very entertaining. Now, let's talk a bit about the visuals and the experience in general. So it has been, a couple of years at this point since the last one. They did take the time to kind of revamp things, revamp the graphics, revamp the engine. That means we've got a new control system. So the controls seem pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I did find it a little harder for me to get, like, grappling and stuff. Like, I am new to this experience, WWE, so, I am kind of fresh into this, but for the most part, I did find the controls not too bad to get used to. There's like the redesigned gameplay engine, which we were talking about for visuals, upgraded control scheme, so you're supposed to have more moves and options for combat, which is kind of cool, combat in the ring of wrestling. So yeah, I think visually it looks pretty good, the game overall. I do kind of recognize this definitely seems to be a cross-gen experience. I would have liked a little bit more variation in how the crowd kind of reacts. The signs kind of pop up in the same spot, they do a lot of the same movements. And there is different variety within the people in the crowd, but it still seems like they could do more because you have these fixated angles. So it shouldn't be too hard to have really insanely rocking crowds, if you get what I'm saying. You can customize the signs based on your character, which is kind of nice, but again, I feel like they could have taken this aspect a lot further for visuals in the backdrop. The foreground, though, the character models look fantastic, clean UI, the ring, the mat, everything looks really good, the fabric's nice. The characters all look fantastic. You get a huge range of current WWE stars. You get some historical characters as well. The Rock and John Cena look absolutely stellar in this game. Visually, they look great, which is fantastic if you're fans of those characters. But other characters are well represented here too. And I mean, just looking at the customizable characters here that I'm showcasing, the level of detail that you can achieve, even for these like secondary customized characters, is very impressive. I think that kind of even further showcases that the visuals in this are actually pretty good looking. I'm pleased by the aesthetics of them. At times the hair looks a little bit weird for some of the characters. It doesn't look too great, but I think a lot of textures, a lot of other assets all look fantastic. Physics wise, there could be a bit more work to do with the physics. There are situations where characters kind of like get stuck on the ground, or some AI doesn't specifically do what they're supposed to. We had a situation where one character was supposed to build up a ladder, and they kept putting the ladder up, taking the ladder down, putting the ladder up, taking the ladder down. So that's something to keep in mind, is that the AI could be, and again the physics could use a little bit more work. There's a lot of like clipping things, there's some stuff where physics don't line up. It's kind of funny when that happens, but obviously they could do some work there, I would think, as well. And, looks like I will be entering the ring now, which is pretty cool. I actually get to fight finally. Yeah, I also noticed that the loading screens in this game can be really, really long. Like, I was going into the main menu, and it seems whenever I press start to start the game, it takes like a few minutes. Like, I actually thought the game was like broken initially. And I'm out. Wow. Wow, okay. I am out. So, anyways, I thought that element was kind of neat and interesting. So, once that loads in, you're good to go. Everything runs fine. I did also find that loading into matches takes quite a while for a next-gen optimized experience. They shouldn't be taking that long. I've seen numerous sporting games and other games that are much more complex take a lot less time to load. So the loading is something I definitely think needs to be worked on. I was not impressed by that aspect of it, especially the opening loading menu screen loading, where I'm kind of like, is this game broken? But, you know, once you're in, everything's fine, everything's cool, it's all running fine, it's looking good. I was kind of pleased by those aspects of it. So I am generally happy by how it runs, how it performs, how it looks. All of those elements of play seem to handle pretty well. They've got a plethora of different modes, which I've all highlighted here. You know, we've got lots of different options for kind of facing off, quick play choices, more career-oriented things. You know, I think there's a little bit of something for everyone. I can't actually even think of what other modes they would add, and they're all decently in-depth too. You know, like I mentioned with GM though, here or there could be a bit more detail and depth to what's going on. It does seem kind of light, but it's also at the same time, I get that they had to do major revisions to this experience in order to, you know, kind of get it available and to make it finally release. And I think that's something to keep in mind as well, is that for the effort here, for the time that was kind of taken between, you know, the gap between games, I think we actually ended up with a pretty solid experience that does seem to handle well, perform well for the most part. I think it could be quite fun to play. I think it has a good amount of challenge and crazy scenarios to it. You can adjust different kinds of difficulty elements as well. You can also go to the settings and you can turn on blood and whatnot if you'd like to from the settings, along with injuries, and change the difficulty if you need it to be harder. You know, they've got simulation elements. The highlight reel system I think could be a lot better too in this one. I was a little disappointed by the highlight reel system, just because, well, you know, it kind of like shows random highlights from like near the end of all these fights, and I'm kind of like, oh, there was these great moments, or there would be a great moment at the end, and that highlight wouldn't be counted. And I'm like, oh, well, what's the point of this? So that's something to keep in mind. But you can see, you know, there's lots of different fighting setups. There's lots of different personality to this game. There's different like cheering and crowd walk-ins and all kinds of different reactions that the crowd can have to your characters. But at the same time, I hope they take the crowd a little bit further. I mean, 2K games, we've seen some wonderful kind of things with the audience, and like, what is it, NBA there, and I think they could go further with the crowd. That's definitely something that stands out to me. Like, there's some movement, there's some stuff like that, but it does seem a little repetitive and whatnot. So just keep that in mind. But I would say overall, I'm very happy with the amount of content that's present here. I'm quite happy with the options for how you play and personalize your game. I think if you are a fan of any aspect of this, you know, WWE Universe, there should be an option for you to come in and easily play. The controls seem to be fine for me for the most part. You can unlock lots of different things. Grappling, you know, could be a little bit better in how you kind of handle and throw people around, at least. I found some difficulty in that. But I think once people get used to the controls and whatnot, it'll be fine. And you'll find them to be decently intuitive and handled decently well. And I think that kind of like really summarizes it. It's generally quite great. There's a lot to enjoy, a lot to play here, a lot to have fun with. I think you can do some epic battles. I think you can have some fun highlights, and I believe the customization elements will make this game last quite a while, assuming they don't do more iterative, you know, kind of year-on-year kind of things for this. But, you know, for now, looking at this, I'm like, wow, you can have so many crazy characters. And this is like, I don't think this is even pre-launch at the point that I'm kind of, I guess you would say, showcasing this experience here. So these, like, the character customization and what people are going to have and make is going to expand greatly, just like massively from this point on. Like, this is a very simple kind of state of it, right? Like, this is only like a couple days in, like early access. Just wait till the general populace gets their hands on this, and we're going to see some crazy simulation setups for different characters and different universes. So I think what they put together here is actually pretty awesome. I had a lot of fun with this. I wasn't even sure if I was going to enjoy this or not. I had no idea, because I'm not super into all the WWE stuff. You know, I'm not super familiar with everything. I have knowledge of it, but, you know, and I actually came out having a pretty good time, which I think was a very pleasant surprise for me, because I had no idea what to expect, especially after, you know, everything with the previous version. So I think they've actually done a pretty good job on this one. I'd say run's fine. Lots to do. Lots of different things to enjoy. A little bit of something for everyone. I can't think of what else they would add mode-wise. So that kind of goes over everything. Just enjoy some more regular non-commentary gameplay, I guess, to see more of it in action. And once again, liking the video is great, and subscribing is great as well. Good luck out there in WWE 2K22.
Obviously worth every drop of sweat on the ground.